Guys, if you can, please like this video, share and subscribe to the channel. So guys, I don't know if you remember, a while back I covered a story with regards to Abigail White, who called herself the fake Barbie. And now the OnlyFans model is demanding visits from a man in prison after murdering a boyfriend. So as I said, Abigail White was found guilty of plunging a knife into the heart of Bradley Lewis. I just want to say rest in peace, Bradley, and my condolences go out to your family. This was the dad to her 3 children last March. The 24-year-old was sentenced to life in prison and must serve a minimum of 18 years. White made around £50,000 posting snaps on OnlyFans before she was jailed last year. And now, at her prison, she has said she is shocked partners are not allowed into women's jails. She said bosses should take into account her needs and allow men to stay overnight with female lags. She said, it's come to my attention, after recently being sentenced to 18 years, that prisons do not facilitate overnight stays for women prisoners and their partners, she told the prison magazine Inside Times. She said, they should take into account and consider our needs and allow men and women to have overnight stays together. I would like to know what other prisoners think about this, as quite a few girls here agree that they want men to stay overnight. So White admitted Mr. Lewis's manslaughter, which happened in Bristol, but she was actually found guilty of murder. She carried out the deadly attack after the couple was seen on CCTV rowing in a pub. The trial heard how White thrust the knife into Mr. Lewis's chest, but she claimed she picked up the blade to shock and scare him and did not realise what she had done until it was too late. Addressing the last year, Mr. Justice Peter Donald Fraser said, not only will your 3 children grow up without a father, but they will grow up knowing their mother murdered their father. A spokesperson for the prison services said prisoners see family during daytime visits, which are supervised by staff. Following White's conviction, Avon and Somerset Police issued a statement criticising her cruel lie and callous and selfish actions. Senior Investigating Officer Ben Lavender said Bradley was a much-loved young man, a father, and had his whole life ahead of him. Abigail White cruelly snatched that life away by her callous and selfless actions. He said in her initial account she tried to claim Bradley stabbed himself, which was a cruel lie, but due to the evidence gathered by our team, she admitted a charge of manslaughter at a previous court hearing. The trial was held because the prosecution maintained she had murdered Bradley, and this was backed up by the jury's verdict. We were determined to carry out a thorough and painstaking investigation to achieve justice for Bradley, with our team of officers and police staff gathering and viewing evidence including CCTV footage, an extensive number of social media posts and voice messages, as well as taking more intrusion statements and carrying out 7 video recorded interviews. So guys, if you want to check out those videos, I'll put the link in the description below. But what do you think with regards to what she's just said? So let me just go through the words that she said again. She said, it has come to my attention, right, after recently being sentenced to 18 years in prison, that prisons do not facilitate overnight stays for women prisoners and their partners. And then she goes on to say, they should take into account and consider our needs and allow men and women to have overnight stays together. I would like to know what other prisoners think about this, as quite a few girls here agree. Guys, I don't know if this is a blag or not, because it's like me going to the governor saying, listen Gov, I'm doing an 18-year stretch, but I want my bird to come round tonight. And he's like, oh yeah, go on then. Absolute madness, guys. The world's gone crazy. In this next story, this is the man who stabbed his neighbour to death in the street following a row. LeSean Williams plunged a knife into Andrew Gardner's chest after he had confronted him about comments he had made about his friend's appearance. The 2 men, who were both armed with knives, clashed in Alexandra Road in Handsworth, where they both lived on September the 18th last year. The court heard Williams had previously said derogatory things about a friend who lived with Mr. Gardner, making fun of the disfigurements he suffered from. Williams then fled on an electric scooter, and Andrew collapsed as he returned home. The 41-year-old died in hospital a short time later. Just want to say rest in peace, Andrew, and my condolences go out to your family. Monday, Williams had pleaded guilty to the manslaughter of Mr. Andrew. The prosecutor said the victim was very proactive. He went into his house and armed himself with a knife once he had been alerted to the fact that the defendant also had a knife. Therefore, a knife fight ensued. There was clearly aggression on both sides. However, she said if you look carefully at the CCTV, it's clear that it is one incident that caused the fatal injury. The judge adjourned sentence until May the 19th and remanded Williams in custody. Detective Inspector Michelle Thurgood from the Homicide Unit said, "This is a terribly sad case where a man has lost his life defending his friend. His family have described him as a caring man and told us at the time of his death his passing will leave a big hole in our lives, but he will be forever in our hearts." In another story, a pair of drug dealers who ran 2 county lines drugs networks out of a bedroom have been jailed. Thomas Ario, who's 23, and Nathaniel Temesgen, who's 21, from Birmingham peddled cocaine and heroin into the Meeks line throughout the city, as well as the Pablo line into Stratford-upon-Avon, using runners to deliver them. They shifted drugs for a 4-month period, and both men were said to have been brought to the UK in difficult circumstances before falling into dealing. Araya of Ward End denied 2 counts of being concerned in the supply of Class A substances, but was found guilty after trial. He was sentenced to 7 years. Temesgen of Erdington admitted the same offences and received 4 years. They ran the county lines operations between December 2021 and April last year. The prosecutor, Edmund Blackman, said police surrounded their accommodation and found various paraphernalia, scales, cling film, customer notes, and the true drugs lines themselves, as well as weapons, a machete and a zombie knife. He stated that Pablo line appeared to have 4 runners, while there was no specific number attached to the Meeks line, although Aria was able to make deals in Birmingham whilst he was in Derby with the phone on him. The prosecutor told the court Aria was higher up the scale, having been in possession of the drugs line and the customer notes in his flat. He later claimed he was simply running a gold tooth business, which was exposed as a cover story. Temesgen was described as a right-hand lieutenant who fronted more of the risk by storing the drugs in his room, but was significantly more involved than just a runner. The defence for Aria said that he escaped from his native Eritrea under gunfire aged 8 and lived in a concentration camp near Libya before arriving in Leeds, where he went to obtain a degree in psychology and set up a business. He said these 2 young men were living in a bedsit, their bank accounts were analysed, and there were no large amounts of money going in. They were basically living in each other's bedrooms. There were letters from Mr. Aria suggesting he was in debt to local agencies. He wasn't living a lavish lifestyle on drugs money. He himself said he didn't have enough credit for his own mobile phone. The defence for Temesgen stated he ended up in care after he also came to the country at a young age when his father gained asylum on political grounds. The barrister continued saying his temporary identification documents were withdrawn and he lost his job due to the pandemic, leaving him to pay off family debts with benefits. He also added he was often spending the majority of his day in his room in a HMO and ended up getting desperate as a result of other people saying within his home about an easy way to make money. He decided to get involved in this drug dealing. It was intended to be short-term way to pay for solicitors, get citizenship, get an identification card, and get employment. In passing sentence, Judge Roderick Henderson said, "You are both still young men and have not been in trouble before. You both have real potential and have had a difficult background." So guys, these are a few stories coming out from the streets of the UK. It's your boy GT. Keep it locked, keep it real.